Welcome to the video edition of The Fourth Curtain, featuring this week's interview. Catch the extended audio version with Alex and Aaron's commentary wherever you get your podcasts. On with the show.
Hello, listeners, and welcome to this week's Fourth Curtain. Today is awesome because we are joined by une maudite légende and old friend Rémi Racine. Did I get that right? The internet told me that was a little bit of Quebecois, and I hope I didn't say anything really bad.
No, yeah, that was great.
Okay.
That was great.
Founder and CEO of Behaviour Interactive, the makers of Dead by Daylight. Behaviour is, I now read this too, the biggest Canadian game developer.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Dead by Daylight having
for sure,
an audience
Canadian,
of over...
Canadian owned.
Okay. 60 million players on Dead by Daylight. Over 1,200 game makers.
Million?
60 million, Aaron.
Holy.
60 million. That's like our podcast audience.
Yeah. Half.
Roughly.
Similar.
Yeah.
Similar. 1,200 game developers in Montreal and other locales. Remy's an inductee into the Canadian Game Development Hall of Fame.
Nice.
And Aaron, I don't know if you know this. I was looking at Remy's website in 2016. They made a Warhammer game.
Which one?
Did you play that one? Remy, do you remember the Warhammer game you guys did?
Yes, unfortunately, I do.
Unfortunately.
Aaron is a huge Warhammer fan, yes. So I had look at that whole.
We were not successful. We were not successful.
Oh no! Which one was it?
Okay,
I think it was called Eternal Crusade.
Okay, I don't think I played that one. No, there's a lot of Warhammer games too.
Okay, well, I've known Remy for many, many years. We haven't connected in a little while, but it's so great to see you. Thank you for joining the podcast today. I have a ton of questions for you. But where are you right now? Are you in Montreal?
I'm in Montreal.
Right on. Did you grow up in Montreal?
Yeah, I grew up in the suburb called Laval, north shore of Montreal. Yeah.
Right on. And what's your origin story? Like growing up, like were you into computers, games, sports, other stuff? Like what was your kind of formative years like?
So yeah, I first of all, I'm an entrepreneur. So my father was as his own engineering consulting business. My uncle was both my uncles have businesses, so I was surrounded by entrepreneurs. Both my grandfather were entrepreneurs. So, and I was a gamer young. My father bought a Pong table in the middle of the 70s. When I was, I'm 61, so in the middle of the 70s. So I was hooked on this. I was beating everybody playing Pong.
The bar one?
On that.
The one that's like a table?
Yeah, the bar one. The bar one.
Yeah, that one's amazing. Yeah.
I had this at home in the basement. So I was very good at ping pong and Pong.
That's awesome.
So your family was pretty wealthy growing up, huh? You had your own Pong machine in the basement?
Not wealthy, but not wealthy, but yes, above average.
Pong table.
And so I think my father got this as a gift for some suppliers. I don't think he bought that table, to be honest. That's
okay. All right, every man now.
But when Flight Simulator came to the market, I started to play. And then the first Nintendo I've played, I had that Nintendo when I was a kid, so I played Mario extensively and Zelda on the first one. So I became a gamer in my teens, and that's in the 70s, early in the 80s. so I did a bachelor degree in finance and started a consulting business in real estate after working a little bit with my father and then with a family in Montreal. Started my consulting business in real estate, and when I had that business, a friend came to me about making video games, and I was more a gamer than him, to be honest. But he was like a designer, and his name is Jean-Maurice Duplessis, and we started this together, and we did at first it was mostly multimedia stuff, but the real first game we did was Jersey Devil in 98, 99. That was a platformer published by Sony, fairly successful. We sold 400,000 units at the time.
Oh, that's pretty good.
That's really successful.
Yeah, against Crash Bandicoot was basically the platformer that became the platformer of Sony, not Jersey Devil. So we were
could have been bigger, huh?
Yes, could have been bigger. And
so wait a second, hold on, time out. Like, this was a pivot from a real estate consultancy?
Yeah.
and that company that made Jersey Devil is the same company that's Behaviour today?
Yes,
wow.
Amazing.
This might be the first real estate to gaming story we've heard.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
But growing up, well, I'm sorry, I was just going to say that, like, growing up, your initial sort of like vision of your future was, I'm going to start a business. And did you pick real estate first because your family was in real estate, or was it just, it seemed most accessible?
Yes, my father was in engineering consulting, so working for a real estate developer. And I liked the business at the time. I had a financial degree in mostly in real estate. So I started this. I as soon as I worked on as a real estate consultant, I became not to like that industry. So it's kind of and I didn't see my future. So this is when my friend came to me with that idea of starting a video game company. I was ready to go fast.
Okay. No regrets.
Without having a business model at the time, just because I was a gamer, I didn't understand exactly what was the business then. But
did you make games on your own before that? Like the programming magazines and all that?
No.
Straight into it. That's cool.
And wait, what year? This must have been, was this in like the late 80s,
90s? 94, 95.
94, 95. Okay.
The edgy
So
scene.
by then there were definitely some examples to kind of models, or there are other people doing this, but you kind of jumped in without really knowing how the business worked.
No, well, I knew a little bit. At first I wanted to become a publisher, and then I realized I didn't have the means to become a publisher. So this is, and I want to be the developer, but also the publisher. And I realized quickly that I couldn't be both to start. So I became just a developer and tried to finance a publisher to finance Jersey Devil, basically.
Yeah. So how did you get a publishing deal with Sony? In the mid 90s.
Yeah, real estate.
You're basically like a walk on, like you walk off the real estate field and you walk onto the game dev field and you knock on Sony's door and go, "Hey, I got a game. What do you think?"
Yeah, I have. But so first of all, I had a little team. By that time, I had a little team. And we were working on Jersey Devil, and we had a demo. And I met everybody at that time, Electronic Arts and Activision, and everybody to publish Sony and Nintendo, and that's prior to Xbox. And I convinced a guy named his last name was Rogers. He was a senior person at Sony to do Jersey Devil. I don't remember his first name. And he was he liked Jersey Devil, and we signed with Sony. I remember they paid the full development, and we made some royalties. And I've learned also going through this with Sony. I've learned how to negotiate and do forecasting, and that was a lot of fun.
Right on. Good for you. What a great start.
Yeah, good for you.
Yeah.
And then 400 sales after
400,000 units, not bad.
Yeah.
Actually, very good. Hey, just because you said it, that you learned, negotiated with Sony that first deal, and you learned how to negotiate. Like, you are one of the rare folks in our industry who has worked with. I got to imagine you have worked with everybody. Like, you've worked with every publisher.
Yeah.
Who's the hardest to negotiate with? Who's the easiest?
I think that Microsoft is fair. That's my memory of working with them. They're fair. But I've worked with them. I think the first deal I had with them was in 2001. So they were starting, and
did you have an Xbox launch title?
I think we were just after, like 6 months or something like that. We were not at launch, no.
Which one was it? I'm just curious. Which do you remember?
I don't remember. I think it was a port about one of our games. Maybe it was a Disney title, the first one. I would have to look. I don't remember.
Unfair question. That was many years ago. Sorry.
No, I think it's Monster. I think it's Monster Inc., the first one.
Oh, okay. That would make sense. All
so
right,
I think it's Monster Inc. So at first we did a lot of licensing with Infogram and direct deal with Sony, and then THQ came. We did a lot of games with THQ and a lot of game with Disney and Midway. I would say that in those years, THQ was the best to deal with, and Disney was the most difficult between both.
When Alex was there.
You did those deals before I showed up. I made everything easier. I'm sure.
No. Alex was there after. Alex was there after. It's true, and it became easy. And then I was there when they started publishing their own game. At first, they were licensing their IP at Disney. I don't remember. That was
Yep.
So I have memories also of Activision being. I was dealing with Minneapolis at the time doing kids game, and it was fairly easy to negotiate deals with them. Also, there was to them they had a formula, and if the concept of the game fit in that formula, it was easy.
Go. Yeah.
It looks like it was Scooby-Doo, by the way, your first Xbox.
Yes.
Hey, look at that! Our research department came through. Good job, Aaron.
I did more. I did more than one. We did more than one Scooby-Doo title. So we had a great relation with Disney and with Warner at that time, and so that was great. That was funny.
Right on. Okay, so here's a thing that I'm really curious about. You are one of I think a very few. I'm trying to think if there's any other entrepreneur, leader, developer that has figured out how to survive and thrive through like 3 different chapters of the game industry. I think Behaviour is celebrating a 30th anniversary this year.
Yeah,
which is
like 6, yeah,
phenomenal.
31st. 31st.
Yeah.
Last year was the 30th.
Oh, nice.
So I can't think of any other. I mean, there were a few independent game developers that had been around as long, but I can't think of any that are still. Maybe there are, but it's very rare. How? Like what? How do you? So like, I'm always curious. Like when I ask people who have done amazing things, like how do you do what you do? I'm very curious about the answer to that question. Not just the actual answer, but what your view of what you do is. So like, what do you do? How do you do it? Like, how does 30 years happen at Behaviour?
Yeah, this is it's an interesting. I always understood, not the first few years, but I understood what is the business model of my business in that world. So how would I make money and pay the staff and do a business in that sector? So that was so I think over the 30 years, you're right. I did when you look at the first 10, we were doing kids game, almost zero royalties on every title. You get paid. So we were trying to make money those years by the minimum that we were required, how much it cost, make a profit, and try to combine those games. When you finish one, you have to start the other. So a lot of biz dev to be ready to have your team go from one to the other. And then I wanted to, so that's the first 10 years kids game only. And then after 10 years, we looked at the market. Somebody told us in a strategy meeting, Rémi, you got to make games for free. And somebody else told us that games are going to be free, so the kids market is going to disappear. That's the middle of, I would say, 2005, 2006. Somebody told us this. A consultant, and I said, "Oh my God, we're in trouble. We're making gigs game. That market is going to disappear." It did. 5 years later, no more. So this is when we did Wet, which we lost money. Bethesda was our publisher, but it was a good learn. We learned a lot. And so we started making games. So that's the second thing. We started making games for teens and adult. And we started to make royalties on some titles because we were getting into a bigger market. So we're doing small games, some of them. So we made some money on some titles in the next 10 years. And the last 10 years is mostly Dead by Daylight. We tried a lot of new stuff in the last 10 years, but our real success is Dead by Daylight. We've invested on Dead by Daylight, and it's working, and touch on wood. Our players are happy, and the game is still growing. It's amazing.
That is phenomenal. So there sounds like there's at least two pivots in there where you built I'm gonna describe some of the things you said. Tell me if I get it right. Like at the beginning, very much you're a hustling game developer. Like you're going project to project. You're at the bow of the ship, like making deals to feed all the developers that are rowing the boat. And eventually somebody goes, "Hey, we're running out of ocean here." So you turn left into teens. Are you still doing basically the same thing, but now you scaled a bit that you can get some royalties now? So it's kind of like you're stacking some revenue.
Yeah, on the workfire, I do because we do now in the first 10 years, we were only doing complete games on different platforms. So not only the obvious fixed platform, but also the portable. We did a lot of games on the Nintendo DS and 3DS and all of that. So the next 10 years, volume started to happen. So we were making on some games royalties. That was then you refine the business model. You say, okay, I'll take less as a minimum guarantee, more as royalties. So that's and it happens that some games we made, the minimum was 300,000, and we made 1.2 in revenue. So it was significant to give them a rebate of 100 on 400, but to make $1 million at the end. It happened a few times. So not 5 times, but it happened a few times, so that we made a significant amount of royalty versus the budget. But that's in the second. And today it's a totally different. The workfire is totally different. We do code dev, so we don't have royalties. We're embedded into the team, the internal team of the publisher. So that's more than half of what we do in service. The other half is we do complete games, and it's fairly standard that we get royalties on those, and depends who owns the IP. And these are complex. The projects are way bigger than they used to be. So
yeah,
but it's still interesting. I like the business model of all of this between us with the consumer. All of this, I always enjoy this a lot, and to give space. I want to give space to the real star of making a game, which are the creatives and the programmers and all of this, so that they're not involved in that in that part. They just make a great game that
Yeah. I think where you are today, where you built your own game, your own IP, it's wildly successful. I think that's what people, that's anybody who wants to like get into making games. I think that's what they imagine. It's like,
Yeah,
oh,
that's
this
the
is what I'm
goal.
going to do. And you have built, you've gotten there, but you've taken a journey to get there. And I'm kind of wondering if you have, like, I love that journey because it's a iterative, organic, like you learn a lot along the way. You've earned every win, that you've gotten. And it seems like you've built something that's completely durable. Even if, God forbid, something happens with Death by Daylight, you still have a diversified, strong business, etc. So I'm just kind of trying to abstract like what you've learned out of that journey from games, just as like life.
No,
Like,
I
what
I
is it
agree.
about
It
that?
is
Is it?
I always thought about the plan B. So we failed many times before we succeeded, but I always had a plan B.
What's
And the
plan
plan
B?
B was the work for hire and the contract,
Okay.
and I was always saying, we might fail and lose 5 million on this, but we have 10 million in the bank, so don't worry. I was saying that to staff, and
Was it
that's
true, or were you just saying it to make everybody comfy?
no. It was true.
It was true.
Alex.
It was true. It's here's the thing is that sometimes staff don't understand 5 million, 10 million in the bank account versus their life. We're very rich. We have 10 million. It depends. If we're 1,000 employees and we have 10 million in the bank, we're not rich.
No.
We're very poor.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Hey,
a
does
problem.
Canada help out at all? Like, did Canada ever step in? Is there any like government support? I know that
Yeah, tax credit. We had tax credit all along from the provincial government, similar to Toronto and Vancouver. They do, and in Europe, similar type of program.
they had to
Yeah,
support
that's a great
digital.
question, Aaron. Like I have a friend who has a studio up in Alberta, and he was telling me about tax credits that he gets. Plus, there are grants for companies that are building in entertainment and also marketing Canadian built products in the entertainment industry. And in the U.S. and in California, there isn't so much of that. There's some, but not so much.
Games for
No,
change.
so in Quebec, there's mostly the tax credit on the production salaries. Nothing else. You're mentioning marketing. We never got this grants. Never got this. Us, but other provinces, it always depends. Some provinces, the tax credit are lower, but they have grants and they provide the fund for marketing. There's all sorts of program everywhere. I've never looked at this, to be honest, as are we going to go in that or this and that? The grants is something after you decide to do something, and then it happens that there's grants in the UK. Well, and we have a studio though. Let's ask for the grant. But if there's no, I don't look at this when I look at a developer at all.
Yeah.
Do y'all have remote? Are y'all all in studio right now, or is there like a mix of remote?
No, we ask people to be 2 days a week in the office minimum.
That's cool. That's nice.
So
2 a week, 3
and
at home.
if you live within a certain number of kilometers, I think it's 60 or something. If you live outside the 60, you don't have to. You have to come twice a year to the office.
Huh.
That's cool.
Well, look at that. Where do you have an office in Montreal? Obviously, where else do you have offices?
Toronto. So we have an office in Toronto. Vancouver, when we bought Red Hook. So we have the Red Hook office. And then they're down almost in the central of Vancouver. And then we have an office in the Middlesbrough, UK, a small studio that we bought, and also Rotterdam, that we also bought. These are the last two are the European studios are work for our basically service studios.
Okay.
Nice.
And then how much of your team is working on Dead by Daylight versus everything else?
I would say a third are working on Dead by Daylight, about 300. And we have about
how much
900 people in production.
Okay. And how much of the company is, and maybe this is not a question you want to answer, but how much of like the revenue or the company that like your size is Dead by Daylight versus like is a third of the company? Third of the company is
a third of the
bringing in
workforce, two-thirds of the revenue. Yeah.
Oh. And do you attribute that just to the power of basically owning your own IP and operating your own? You're basically a publisher now, right?
Oh yeah, I'm a publisher. I'm right now. I've published other games, not very successfully, but I did. But I have. We have a game in production. We have a new game in production. We have. We're trying to publish somebody else's title, so we're working on some publishing title, and we're trying this a lot of the business within the game industry, but I think that except Dead by Daylight, we're as a publisher when still in a trial. Dead by Daylight is a very strong team, and we have a very good publishing team also that supports Dead by Daylight. But the rest is all we're trying. We're still learning how to become successful.
Okay. So, how did Dead by Daylight happen?
Well, first of all, it's after Naughty Bear. So we made two Naughty Bear game that we didn't lose money. So after Wit, we did two Naughty Bear, and we didn't lose money on those. So that was very good. So we said, oh my God. And we're not the publisher. Then the 505 was the publisher. So we said to ourselves, okay, we're gonna do a Naughty Bear came in those years. It's like I would say that Naughty Bear is the ancestor of Dead by Daylight. And
that game.
And a few years after we did this, and we went to E3 in 2015 with our demo of Dead by Daylight, and we've pitched this to many publishers. We got several offers, more than 5 from publisher, but we had a deal in mind that we wanted to become co-publisher, owner of the IP. We're not gonna do a deal with Sony or with Microsoft or Activision. We're gonna do a deal where we co-publish and own. And we find Starbreeze to sign that deal. And then we launched the game, and we sold. I think we made all our money back in 2 weeks. So after the launch, yes. So then I said, okay, we have something. And we bought back a year and a half later, after the launch of Dead by Daylight, we bought back Starbreeze. They needed the cash, and we had the cash at the time. We still have the cash to buy you look back, you say that was a small amount. But at the time it was a big amount, but we bought them out from the Dead by Daylight project, and then we became on our own, and we wanted to invest in the game and didn't want to invest in the game, so we were not agreeing on the plan, and rightly so, we were right and they were wrong. Sometimes it's the opposite, but in this time we were right and they were wrong.
We'll be right back. If you like what you're hearing, like and follow the show wherever you get your podcasts. And now, a word from our sponsors. Great games aren't just made, they're crafted. Pixel by pixel, idea by idea. Amber doesn't just develop games, Amber forges the future of play, one project at a time. From the magic makers at Disney to the tech giants at Amazon and Warner Media, the biggest names in the industry trust Amber to turn their wildest ideas into reality. Why? Because the talented teams at Amber believe in pushing every boundary, breaking every mold, and having a bit of fun while they're at it. Need a partner who knows the game and plays to win? Amber has the talent, the passion, and a global network that's ready to roll. So let's skip the loading screen and get straight to the action. Discover how Amber can power up your next project at amberstudio.com. Do you want your game to live forever? To supercharge it with immense powers of endless content, a buzzing gamer community, immortality, and coin? CurseForge for Studios, an exclusive service for visionary game developers, allows you to add safe, cross-platform mods to your game and enjoy all the benefits of user-generated content without any of the risks. With CurseForge for Studios, you can harness the creativity of our 165,000 devoted creators and the traffic of 43 million monthly gamers. You can also level up with premium mods and grant your game new revenue streams. Trusted by AAA studios, CurseForge for Studios is an immortality potion for your game. Enter studios.curseforge.com and join the UGC era. Leveling up your game dev career but not sure where to start?
Maybe you're trying to break into the industry, looking to connect with other people who are making games.
Consider joining the International Game Developers Association, the IGDA, the world's largest nonprofit, member-driven professional association serving all individuals who create games.
I was in the IGDA in Chicago, met a lot of people. Great way to network.
The IGDA exists to support and empower game developers around the world in achieving fulfilling and sustainable careers.
Discounts,
Educational and advocacy-based resources,
mentorship.
and solidarity across 160 plus chapters.
To join the IGDA, visit igda.org/membership and use the code IGDA 4th Curtain 15, no spaces there,
To get 15% off 1- and 2-year memberships, as well as a student membership.
Joining the IGDA is a great move for your career, and as a nonprofit supporting everyone making games, it's a great move for the whole community. Join today. Hey listeners, it's Alex from the Fourth Curtain.
And Darren here, we want to give a quick shout out to the team at High Vibe PR.
High Vibe PR is our boutique communications firm. They're all about companies and brands defining the future of gaming, entertainment, and culture.
Look, when you're doing something big, you need the right people to help you tell your story. And High Vibe PR, they're the best at making it happen.
Absolutely. They've helped us at Look North World level up our messaging, connect to the right audiences, and stay ahead of the curve in this ever-changing industry.
So, if you're looking for a PR partner who gets gaming and entertainment like no one else, check them out at highvibepr.com.
That's highvibepr.com. Go give them a look. You won't regret it.
And now, back to the show.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Wait, when you went out and were shopping around, you had these 5 deals basically. I'm kind of assuming, I don't know, was it the case where it's like the Starbreeze deal where you got your strategy, like you could co-publish?
And basically, they said yes to everything. And by the way, they invested 2.5 million into the venture. And at the end of that year and a half, they got 36 million.
Okay. So good deal for them.
So
Yeah.
good deal for them and great deal for us to buy them for only 36. When you look. So, because after that, we launched a store, which they disagreed at the time. We launched a store, and now the store represents much more than 50% of the revenue of the game.
So that's all in-app purchase. Yeah.
In-app purchase.
Yeah.
Smart.
And when you did Naughty Bear, did y'all know it was going to be like a special game? I remember it was kind of an internet sensation when it came up. Everyone was like,
Yeah, but we knew we had something. We should have pushed this a lot more. We were behind a publisher. Retail was still big at the time. Dead by Daylight is in 16. This is different. By the way, retail on Dead by Daylight is like 1 million units, all in all. It's nothing. So it didn't count basically, and the retail came only for console a year later. So a year after the launch, we've made a lot of money on Steam already. So retail was like, we'll do retail. We did retail with 505, but it wasn't
retail, like in a box. You're saying, like in a store. Okay, yeah.
Retail.
Does anybody do that anymore?
No, I don't think so. Sometimes I hear. Sometimes no, but it's true. Sometimes we sell keys in South America. We make a few dollars per keys, and that's it. That's retail.
Yeah. Okay. But I was kind of hoping you were going to say the Starbreeze deal was like it was good for strategy, but all the other offers were more money, and you had some difficult decision to make of whether, okay, should we really take a risk?
I mean,
but it sounded like it was easy.
No. I had no. Okay, so looking, you say today, I wanted to own 100% of the IP, so nobody made us an offer that we own 100% of the IP except Starbreeze.
Okay.
And everybody else offered us more than $5 million. And Starbreeze offered us half of $5 million because they said we're going to be 50-50. And at the time, $2.5 million was okay. We got to plan our cash flow and everything but I wanted that deal. The entrepreneur in me didn't want to sell the game to the big boys. And one of the big boys offered us $20 million for a game that costs $5 million.
Okay. So you said no. So this is interesting then. So you kind of turned down $20 million to bet on yourself, basically. You say, hey, you know what? I'm not going to cash. I'm not going to take $15 million in profit right now. I'm going to instead spend 2.5 of my bank to own half of this thing because you believed.
But I let me tell you, during that GDC where we pitched this, everybody came out of the room. Sometimes it's the evaluator. It's not the person that makes the decision. Sometimes that it's in the room, but they send people, and they said they all came out with screaming and all of this because the game is obviously horror. And we always betting by seeing the 5 people that came in. Usually it was 4, and we had one guy playing with them. And we're betting amongst ourselves who's going to scream. Because then always, and I was the best to identify who's going to scream.
That's your magic, your superpower.
Yeah, and basically it's easy. My superpower is the person that looks the more tougher is the one that's going to scream. So it's just a joke. But so when we came out of those 10 meetings or so, everybody came out and says, we're going to make an offer. Just wait for us. We're going to make an offer. And so when you see the excitement, you say, okay, I got something. And I'm going to go with a small one because they know to market those games. They're not going to spend on they're not going to spend money on marketing. They're gonna guerrilla marketing. This is what I want. This is the future. Blah blah blah. I'm going to go with them. I like what they're doing with their own game. So let's go with them. And we were right.
Yeah. Well, I love that part of the story there where you bet on yourself, and I think you probably got to that point because everything that you did before. I mean, like you kind of earned your seat at the table, but you also learned a ton building all the games that you built before that. So like when you described your pivot from making kids games to games for older kids that are slightly larger that have royalty on it, I understand that's sort of an easy-ish transition, but going from a business where you're building like work for hire or games for other people to creating your own IP, is it true that it sounds like your dev budget on Dead by Daylight was $5 million. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. So
that's a good investment.
how like what sort of decisions along the way did you like have to agonize over like, okay, we're gonna. It's important for us to spin up a team here that is not funded, and then we're gonna build a whole game and then go pitch it, or
Yeah, I had a small team working on this all those years that we were making work for I always had people against I had the local shareholders fund. They 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 hated it. They hated it because I was spending the margin. I was spending the margin, not all of the margin, but some of the margin was, and they always say, "How much did you waste this year?" I said, million and a half. Maybe it was 2, but I was saying a million and a half. And those people were working on the last, the last 2 years on Dead by Daylight. When we signed, I remember when we signed with Starbreeze, we had already on that $5 million, we already had money spent. So they gave us half of what we spent back. So we were very happy. Let's say that we spent already, $2 million. So they gave us 1. We said, oh my God, we got 1. So, but, and that one was good for us going forward because we had to invest the balance. So, yeah, this is how at that GDC in 2015, we were excited, but you never know. You pitch a game, you never know. You had a demo, we had a strong demo, and obviously there was some bugs. We had to reboot the server between meetings. It was not like we had a senior programmer with us who was sometimes he says the computers are too hot. We got to stop.
They're too hot. So how long did it take y'all to build the game, the first iteration of the game? After that, so that was 215.
The last. Okay, so I'm gonna say full production about a year, and pre-prod probably 2 years.
Do you think
we're a very small team? 2 years.
Do you think the pandemic really kicked the game up since like made it more
70%? The first year we did 70% more than the previous.
Yeah, because everyone's playing online of that year. I remember it is kind of like a party game in a sense, right? Like 5 friends get together.
And then the year after we still had huge increase in 21 from 20, so it was still growing. 22 was better than 21. 23, 24 were I would say a little. The increase was less. 25 is still there's still a small increase from 24.
Still going strong. You guys made Fallout Shelter too, is that right?
Yes.
I remember when that came out.
That game was a phenomenon.
I talked with Todd Howard last week too, and what a launch!
Yeah.
That game's not still.
It's still going
on the App Store.
That game is still.
Is it still going?
We haven't been involved since the launch, to be honest.
Okay.
But that game is still kicking.
Wow. Played a lot of it when it came out, and just
just a little story. We pitched this to Bethesda. We were doing Fallout 4 with them. We were co-dev, so we were helping them. We pitched this to them. They liked it at first, but they didn't want any monetization. Their thinking was at first we're going to use this as a marketing tool for the main game. And at some point they accepted our monetization scheme, you could call it model, and it worked.
Yeah, it worked.
Yeah.
And I played it a lot the first year and a half. Oh my God, I was
that must have been what, like 20 2014?
2015.
2015?
15, 16? 15.
16?
15.
Okay. Well,
No,
so
16 is Dead by Daylight. I don't think it's the same year than Dead by Daylight. I think it's the year before.
must have been, I
Yeah.
think it was the year before.
2015 is when it
Yeah.
happened.
2015,
So,
Fallout Shelter is 2015.
Yeah, I don't know
E3
how many.
2015 is the launch. Remember, they launched during the event.
Oh, during their like their
Their big showcase, they launched.
yeah.
And
That's
Halo
right.
Wars Definitive Edition. That's a fantastic game too.
Well, hold on. I want to just stick on Fallout Shelter for a sec because I'm trying to remember for listeners, if you haven't, if you're not familiar with Fallout Shelter, it's basically like an idle game in the Fallout universe. Were idle games a big thing before that came out? I just remember being surprised that this like a AAA game franchise that had been around for a while sort of had this expression, on mobile as an idle game, but it made perfect sense for the IP, for the world.
I think the Badlands,
were idle
right?
games a big thing, or was that like a big convince, to Todd Howard? Like, this is going to be good.
No. Todd liked when we pitched it, they said yes very quickly.
Okay.
That's cool.
Rémi, it sounds like everything comes easy to you.
No. By the way, neither us or them knew. By the way, neither us or them knew that it was big. At first, it was mainly to help the main game. Even us, we were pitching this to.
Oh, like a supplemental game.
Yeah. It was not something that we said. Let's put monetization. You might pay us. You might use the money to pay. It's gonna neutralize the cost of us making the game. And they said yes at some point, and the rest is history.
Yeah.
Wow.
Did you get a royalty on that one?
No.
It's okay. But I was going to say, it sounds like you've had you've had a lot of wins, which is great. But sometimes the really interesting stories are the non-wins. And over 30 years, like, I've been operating my own businesses for 30 years, not one continual one, but every business that I've been involved in has had its moments, where you're sort of staring into the abyss going, how are we going to get across here? Have you ever had any of those?
Well, I mean, the first real loss that we experienced was wet in 08, 09. Bethesda was a good publisher, but it sold 1.1, and to be honest, it needed to sell 2 million units. And didn't sell enough, and we lost a few $1 million on that deal. And instead of an IP, we had a great game. I think that we have a great character in Ruby Malone, but it wasn't big enough to become an IP, to become a platform. We've invested at that time. We invested, a lot of our soul in that game, and so it didn't work out. That's the first, and that was a failure because also you're using a lot of your cash that you accumulate over the years. So that was a big step back. Naughty Bear after that was made a little bit of money, so basically covered our cost, both games. So I was okay. We're not bad. Dead by Daylight obviously did great, but after Dead by Daylight, we had some. We thought that okay, now that we have Dead by Daylight, we're going to do another one. So we did get Def Garden. It didn't recuperate as cash. And lately, we did a game called Meteor Maker, which tested well. Didn't catch on. We lost a lot more than the previous one because we spent a lot more on that game. So that was a that's that's a failure. That's it. It's so making new IP is tough like hell. And
It's
we
hard.
had to be honest, we had an offsite a few weeks ago talking about the quality of the product we make. And trying to see where we can, and we came out of that 2 days with a lot of things that we want to improve to reduce the risk, basically. So of making good games, and it's tough. It's it takes 3 years to make a game. The market the trends change every 18 months. This is not a precise science. This is me basically say. So you got to predict the next trend while you're making the game, because you're in the current trend. You got to predict the next one. Or sometimes even if you take 4 or 5 years, it's not even the next one. It's the one after.
Yeah.
Dead by Daylight has been good for this. Nobody believed that we could make an asymmetrical game. Are you nuts? It's never going to work. It's been out there for 9 years. It's still complex to it's still a very complex issue to all the matchmaking. But it does well, and our the people that are playing it are happy. I met somebody yesterday in an office that said, "Oh my God, I have hundreds and hundreds of hours on Dead by Daylight. I started this in the pandemic." And the guy I was in a law firm. This is nothing to do with us.
Did you give him a T-shirt?
No, I shook his hand though. I want to thank him.
Even better. Well, so I mean, you've had some misses, but you've had some big hits, and you've definitely thought about this topic for a while, and specifically recently. What advice would you give to somebody who's like, "I'm going to start a studio. I want to make a game. I want to do it," or somebody's got a studio. It's like, "Hey, I really want to have a successful IP." Like, what kind of advice would you give?
Oh, it's so. It's funny. It will always come down to the game fundamentals. The small. Sometimes it's just the gameplay, the fun of it. It's I think when you look back at our failure, we got distracted from the original intent. So during the process of making the game, we've changed so many things that at the end it's not what we intend to do. So I would say to people, when they start something and they think they have something good, stick to it. You test it and stick to it and stick to it. So you gotta have somebody that is in charge of that vision, no matter who he is, a creative, tech person, the producer, whatever, and he's going after this. And at first, obviously, the original idea needs to be very good. But you look back at some games we made, the original idea was great. It's not at the end. The problem is not the end. It's not the end product. We did something else.
Yeah.
And so
we had
it is.
we had
Go
ahead.
I was going to say, so I had a dinner with another developer, and he was telling me how much he's got to remind everybody of the goal almost weekly to his team. And I said, yeah, that's a good line. I agree with this. Because the people they want to, it's not full intent, but that's the team wants to do the best. So everybody is always trying to, but you have to have somebody that says, but this is the box. We're in that box. We're not going out of the box. It's
Yeah,
Chris
execution.
and Tyler Chris and Tyler at Red Hook are very, very good at this. Those two guys are
Yeah.
very, very good. By the way, if you look at Dead by Daylight, we stick to that box. We haven't gone outside the box. We're trying different modes within the game, but the game is the game. And so we haven't changed the game. If you go back, if you haven't played it since 2017 and you go back in 25, it looks better, it plays better, but it's the same game.
Yeah.
Right on.
It's got a lot of characters, got a lot of environments, got a lot of different things, but it's the same game.
Focus and execution. We hear that a lot. Like, like the ideas are great, but you have to have the execution to go along with it. Like, it has to be special. And you get there with the focus. Yeah. The industry has changed quite a bit from, especially since the pandemic. And when I look at where we're headed as an industry and where players are spending their time, it feels different than it did 10 years ago. Are you thinking about like the kinds of games that you're going to make 5 years from now, or the platforms that will maybe even just, like you say, I think you said 18 months, everything changes. Even 18 months down the road, like what people want to play, where they want to play.
Yeah, when we think about something else that there's always people working on R&D. When we look, 3-4 years ahead on Dead by Daylight on a new, we're looking at different scenarios. I wouldn't say that we're betting on a scenario. We're trying to. It's probably me. We're trying to be ready for any scenario instead of. I mean, 10 years ago, maybe 15 years ago, PC was dying. Remember those years where you would say, "This is
the PC is dead." Uh-huh.
Yeah.
PC is never. I mean, are you doing a PC SKU? Wow, this is how you make money on this. Now, I'm looking at an original game. I'm saying, no, it's PC first, and then if it's successful, then we'll put it on console. So that's the market now. I would say that won't change in 5 years. I expect PC to, even if it's a much more costly experience for the consumer, I think that PC will still drive most of the innovation, most of the games, because it's an easy platform also to develop. We'll see about the other platforms. We don't know exactly. Obviously, I can see that Nintendo and Sony are going to be for sure in the market in 5 years. But there might be another platform, not necessarily another console, but another way. Maybe it's just a TV set. I don't know, but
Yeah,
we'll be ready.
TV, yeah.
It is interesting to see what there's a lot of software platforms coming, like even if you just look at like what Epic's doing with Fortnite or Roblox and other games that are kind of
Steam
opening
Deck
up
and all
their
that stuff.
platforms for developers to make experiences with those existing audiences.
Yeah,
is really
exactly.
interesting.
But the gameplay, if you look back at Pong, you go back way back, and you look at it's more complex, but it's not. When it's too complex, it's sometimes you got to think about it. Is it gonna work? Because you look at the successful game, and let's say that Dead by Daylight is in the top 20 or 25 games, but you look at the successful game, they haven't changed. It's very easy to understand what is the gameplay. And They obviously, like us, they've improved the game over the years, but it's mainly the original game.
Yeah.
Are you playing any games now? Do you enjoy
I
any?
don't play that. I don't play that. To be honest, I don't play that much. I play a lot of games on my cell phone. On console and PC, I don't. I should play more. God, I'm
Are
busy.
you
I got a lot of
like a New York Times crossword guy?
No,
No.
I'm not a crossword guy, but I do a lot of math game on my
Ooh.
phone.
Hey, what's a
good
math
one?
game? That
Yeah,
sounds
what's a good one?
Yeah,
Which
this
one you
is
like?
the one that I play almost every day is cross math and
Oh,
water
cross
sort.
math.
Cross
What was
math
the
and
second
water
one?
sort.
Water sort?
Yeah,
All right.
yeah. And then I play. Sometimes I play a game called. You could say that one of them is called Color Block Jam or Wood Away. This is exactly the same game. You gotta get that thing out of the box. You gotta play, and you look at this. This is you have to think. This is these are. It's different than, but I still play when there's a big single story game, a la Uncharted or Assassin's Creed, or I play those. The Last of Us.
That's cool.
Right
I
on.
still play those games.
Love those too. I wish we had more of them.
Yeah, but it's the business model is now you're talking to the business guys. The business model is very complex. It costs a fortune to make, and you gotta have the volume of sale, and it's not easy. It's tough. If your break-even point is at 5 million units, I wouldn't be in that market.
Yes. Yes. All right, Rémi. It was so great to have you come and chat with us today.
Great to meet you,
Congratulations
Rémi.
on all the success. Looking forward to, you've had a couple pivots over each decade. So I think we're heading towards a new decade. I'm looking forward to what your next pivot's going to be. I'm sure it's going to be interesting.
I'm hopeful. Yes, I'm in my 4th decade now, so I have to have something. I say to the guys, listen, this we gotta find something. If not, my story won't work.
That's right.
I'm making jokes.
But yeah, thanks for hanging out with us. And we'll see you around.
Thanks.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you for listening to the Fourth Curtain Podcast. Visit us at thefourthcurtain.com to find our monthly newsletter and support the show via Patreon. The Fourth Curtain Podcast is a production of Fourth Curtain Media. Lovingly edited by Brian Hensley of Noise Floor Sound Solutions. Production support by May Lee with community management by Doug Zartman and art production by Paul Russell. Thanks again for listening.